Hello, everyone. Welcome to WorldPride 2025. I'm DC Wilkinson, the author of the book Sense of Lavender, Queer Love Through the Ages in Verse. And I'm here with my sometimes cantankerous but always lovable hubby, Rich Crosser Wilkinson, our moderator for today's session.
Hello, everyone. And first of all, happy Pride Month to everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to join us. It does mean the world to us. I am so proud of my husband. He is the sometimes lovable but always cantankerous husband.
Thank you.
Just teasing, ha ha ha. Upon the release of his second book, his second labor of love, Sense of Lavender, that's why we're here today. We do hope that you enjoyed today's session.
Thank you, Rich. So before I forget, a big thanks to the organizers of this amazing event, specifically the Our Pride Shorts and Arts Fest. One disclaimer before I go any further. Rich and I have never done this before. We are total rookies, so please forgive us if we screw up here and there. Rich, please explain your role a bit.
Okay, well, I have signed on today to be the moderator. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to stay off to the sidelines. I'm going to be a little sidekick. I'm going to be helping Dan keep things rolling along smoothly. And I'm going to be, while I'm off on the side, I'm going to be loading up some photos that we had pre-made and some videos that are all set. And each one of them is going to correlate with the poem that Dan is reading or whatever he's speaking about. So I'm going to be working all that stuff in the background. So forgive me if the screen gets a little wonky from time to time. I'm going to be changing layouts and different things to make things look good and adding photos and videos. And I'm praying that everything goes smooth and we don't mess it up for you today. But what I'm going to do, first of all, is show you what I mean. I am going to right now change the layout. See, this one is a spotlight layout. And then I'll be adding pictures, for example, like this. Yay, there's Chrissy, our beloved beagle. She's our love of our life. And she is here with us next to us today, but we can't finagle the camera to get her on here. So I figured I'd show you a little picture of her. She's the third member of our little family here that we're all proud of. So anyway, that's how things are basically going to work. If you guys have any questions at any time or you just want to make a comment, feel free to do so on the side, on the right-hand side of the screen. You can type them in. Unfortunately, I really can't allow people to come on and have their picture and voice on here because then you'll become a moderator and that will mess up the screens and everything. So if you can just type on the side, that would be great. We'll try to get to any questions that you have. And so that's how things will work today. And I'm going to give it back to Dan now so that he can start going over things. Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. So here we are at our beautiful home in Norwalk, Connecticut, where unspeakable acts of deliciousness happen on a daily basis. Of course, I am referring to binging on Netflix movies while ingesting all kinds of naughty nibbles. What were you thinking? Anyway, a few things about me. I was born in a place called Montevideo, Uruguay, in southern South America. And abrazos para mi familia y amigos en Uruguay. Something about my name. My real name is Daniel Crosser Wilkinson. That's my complete name. And because people might be wondering, well, I am DC Wilkinson for people who read my books. And the truth is that when Rich and I got married, which was 10 years ago, we've been together 18 years, we decided to kind of put our names together. So my name, my birth name is Crosser, and Rich's surname is Wilkinson. So we put them together. So we're legally Crosser Wilkinson, both of us. The thing is, I couldn't fit that name on a book, on the cover of a book. It was really too long. So I decided to abbreviate it to DC Wilkinson. So it's not really DC Wilkinson. It's not really a pen name, even though people think it is. It's just my name abbreviated. A little bit about my writing career. I actually began writing when I was a kid. I wrote in Spanish. I wrote in English. But my writing career really took off in college. I went to school in Michigan, and that's where I took language arts courses and courses in the humanities, and I started really writing in earnest, and I continued that until forever. Now, I was I worked as a journalist in Michigan in a school newspaper, which had a nice circulation in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And then when I moved to New York, I really didn't. I continued to write, but I never bothered to publish anything. I was too busy working in education. By the way, I am a retired school teacher, public school teacher. I worked in the public schools in the city of New York. And anyway, I never really thought about publishing anything until the pandemic, when I had plenty of time to sit down and write. So it took me a few years to write my first book, my debut novel, Devin's Dreams, and so that's how everything started. And anyway, I'd like to begin today's session by wishing everyone happy Pride and sharing a poem that I wrote during Pride last year that's titled Rare Breed. And there you see the first image there that Rich put up. And it's, as you can see, the image of a unicorn, which is kind of representative of the LGBTQ community, along with other symbols like the rainbow flag and the lavender, the color lavender. So in this case, we're going to use, I use this particular symbol, the unicorn. So here's the poem. It's called Rare Breed. When I heard that cold showers were good for my health, did I run to the bathroom and get one? Will you eat nothing but turnips if you learn they boost your brain power? What happens when a kid finds out queer love is a thing in the world? Will they rush to turn queer? Nah. No one turns into a unicorn. We are a rare breed. So, short and sweet, right? Who knows? Maybe someday, someone will make a song out of it. Wink, wink, whoever you are out there. So, an explanation, a little bit of an explanation about this particular poem. It came to me out of rage, really. It was a visceral thing because as a teacher in the school system and as a person in general, I heard so many times this idea that LGBTQ plus people can turn others into being gay or lesbian or trans. And I had a visceral reaction to that. I was livid. I couldn't believe the cruelty in that, and so I wrote this out of, to be honest with you, out of anger, but also out of pride, because we are unicorns. We are unique. We are magical, if you will, because we are so different and so beautiful and so perfect. And for people to even fathom that, that we would be like what? Like vampires, that we can bite people and turn them, bring them, recruit them to our tribe. It's just ridiculous. It's so absurd. So this is part of what this poem is about, but as you could see, the end is, it's beautiful. It says, "We are who we are. We're proud," and that's it. Happy Pride once again.
Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and as I feel it, I must mention as the moderator, if you could just lower your camera a little bit when you're reading, your mouth is cut off. So I just want to make sure everybody can see you when you're reading. Okay.
Is that better?
That's better. Okay, let's move on now. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so moving on very briefly to Devon's Dreams, which is my debut novel. It was published last year in February. Regarding the genre, it's kind of like a mix. It's a mystery. It's a mystery novel, but it's historical fiction, and of course LGBTQ plus themes were weaved into the narrative. And the reason I'm mentioning it is that there are some parallels that I'd like to point out between Devon's Dreams and Sense of Lavender. Just to begin with, they're both books are about love. They are both fictional works, but rooted in history. And before I go any further, for those who are unfamiliar with Devon's Dreams, here's a short video.
Devon Sharp, a gentle-natured boy, has trouble sleeping. Recurring visions of strangers moving among shadows in his bedroom keep waking him at night. He swears that what he sees and hears is real. To no avail. No one believes him. An older sibling taunts him. Silly dreams, she says. But are they? Coming of age as a gay teen in the 70s, Devon's sleep issues are just one more secret safely locked up in his closet. But not for long. Freshman year in college brings a measure of freedom and a chance to explore well beyond the boundaries of stifling social molds. Experimenting with a powerful drug, Devon's quirky visions resurface. This time, however, something is different. A rabbit hole materializes out of nowhere. Thrust into it by a mysterious force, Devon is hurled into another world centuries before his own. There, awaiting, a host of strangers appear to know him.
Hello, whoever's just joined us, welcome. So from watching this short teaser video, we can tell that there are three key themes to begin with in Devon's Dreams. And one of them is the quirky dreams and visions, the deeply held secrets locked up in the closet, Devon's closet, and a rabbit hole that appears out of nowhere when Devon begins to explore powerful drugs while in college. So let's watch another short video that addresses this mysterious rabbit hole and what happens to Devon when he falls into it.
A singular cosmic kinship emerges from an uncanny nebula of dreams surrounding Devon, a gentle-natured kid living in 20th century America. Going across time portals that appear spontaneously, he grows up to find himself inexplicably tethered to Giovanni, a middle-aged opera impresario living in England in the mid-1700s. Devon and Giovanni's journeys intersect with each other throughout the span of their lifetimes as they zigzag back and forth from one space-time to another, ultimately shedding light into the universal mystery that surrounds them.
So now that we know that the rabbit hole appears to be some sort of portal or threshold into another dimension, where Devon's consciousness enters the body of Giovanni, a middle-aged Italian opera impresario living in the year 1750 in the mid 18th century in London, England. And this is where the fun begins. As the plot develops, Devin goes back and forth between two timelines, the 20th century America and 18th century Europe. So why is this significant? Well, let's circle back to the parallels I mentioned earlier before between Devon's Dreams and Sense of Lavender, and you'll get a sense of what I'm getting at. In Devon's Dreams, Devon faces an often hostile social environment as a gay man living in 20th century America. In the 18th century, Devon embodies Giovanni, a straight man who is a member of an ethnic minority. He is Italian, even though Italy didn't exist at the time. And in fact, it was the Duchy of Savoy, which was part of France, part of Italy in northern Italy, what today is the Piedmont area. But anyway, he was definitely a member of an ethnic minority and a Catholic living in Protestant England. And as if that wasn't enough, he falls in love with this girl who is half his age, who hails from a place called Batavia, which was part of the Dutch Empire in the East Indies. Batavia is today's Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. And so Giovanni's love interest Giovanni is in a relationship, in an interracial relationship in the 18th century. And he faces, of course, severe humiliation, scorn. The worst part was that their love was never acknowledged or dignified by society at all. They were in Europe. They had met in very strange circumstances on a ship that carried slaves. Anyway, Devon's Dreams gives these lovers a voice. And when I say these lovers, I mean Devon and his male partner in the 20th century, and Giovanni and his Asian lover, Shayna. And that's what Devon's Dreams does, among many other things. Similarly, Sense of Lavender brings to life the voices of LGBTQ plus couples in history and across cultures whose love defied time and silence, despite the forces that attempted to suppress them. So in that sense, those are the parallels, one of the parallels that I wanted to focus on. And now you're seeing an image of one of the awards that Devon's Dreams received during the year 2024. Devon's Dreams received 2 awards, a Book of the Year award from the Historical Fiction Company in the Time Travel Dual Timeline category, and also, and very significantly, Devon's Dreams received recognition from the Indie Author Project after entering their annual contest, which landed the ebook version of Devon's Dreams in every public library in the state of Connecticut that is part of their BiblioBoard digital platform. I'm very proud of those awards, and that's why I'm mentioning them. And now we're ready to move on to Sense of Lavender, the book that we're here to talk about. And we have a trailer for you that will show you, that will tell you a little bit about Sense of Lavender. Rich? Well, I hope you enjoyed the trailer. Um, in a nutshell, this book is a collection of 25 poems, illustrated poems that bring to life evocative scenes where queer love reemerges from the depths of history, uncovering deep and everlasting bonds across the globe. The basic message is that queer love is not a new construct, uh, and and that we've been here since the beginning of time, probably since the caves. Because when you think about it, yes, we know about these relationships because somebody wrote about them, and so we're thinking, this is, we're here since the beginning of civilization, but no, no, we were still human beings when we were in the caves. And even though we couldn't express ourselves in writing, we were still there. And we queer people we were there. I'm pretty sure of that. So a little bit about the digital artwork you'll see as I begin reading some of the poems. Rich already mentioned that each poem is associated with an image. And so I wanted to just explain a little bit why, I decided to use imagery to enhance the experience of the reader. And that has to do with the fact that I view the images as thresholds uh, into the scenes that each poem describes. It allows the reader to go through this threshold and to get or catch a bird's eye view of the scene, and it offers a sort of moment of quiet immersion in the context of the lives being portrayed. But please keep in mind that this book is not about the artwork, but about the narratives that describe love, loss, grief, healing, community, and most importantly, visibility. And that was Chrissy leaving my room. She's my muse, one of my muses, our beagle. Anyway, I'd like to begin sharing a few poems with you, and I think I'm going to start with, a poem about Abraham Lincoln, which you may have heard things about him, uh, things that are in the air, in the ether. There was a movie that was made not too long ago about the idea, the notion that he may have been bisexual. Um, so there are things that are factual about Abraham Lincoln. He did have a friend whose name was Joshua Speed, and they met in the spring of 1937 in Springfield, Illinois, and they became roommates and best friends. However, some historians believe their bond went beyond friendship. And what's interesting is how they met and how that relationship evolved. So the title of the poem is My Honest Abe. And it's about how they met and how things progressed after they met. Because when you learn about this, you start wondering. So here we go. My Honest Abe. A remarkable occurrence transpired the instant the door swung open and a stranger swooped into my life asking for lodging. And this is Joshua Speed speaking, okay? He stood before me, tall and lanky, and said his name was Abe. I'm Josh, I replied, gawking at his imposing presence, and offered him to share my bedstead. He took his saddlebags, walked into my quarters, and stayed with me 4 years and a lifetime. How many times since then did we comfort each other while dreaming visions of Elysium? How many letters did he sign yours forever, even while sworn to marry Todd? A quarter of a century went by before he took the oath upon the Bible, and entered history forever. Still, even through the war years, he never veered from our enduring bond. And in the end, just days before my Honest Abe was prematurely wrestled from this earth, the good Lord granted us one last moment together at the White House to reminisce about our cherished memories and embrace before parting, hearts speaking louder than words. So the story goes that, when Abe Lincoln was a young man, he walked into this general store in Springfield, Illinois, and there was Joshua Speed. He was looking for a place to stay to spend the night, and usually at that time, general stores had in the upper floor, they had a room that they rented out, but in this case, there was only one bed. Now, and of course, Joshua Speed offered him to come in, and he came in and stayed 4 years, sharing the same bed. Now, at that time, sharing a bed was not an issue. Men shared beds, and that didn't imply anything, except that this lasted 4 years, and the relationship went on for a very long time. And there is evidence because of the letters that they exchanged, and also the times that Joshua visited the White House where he stayed. When he stayed, there is evidence that something else was going on there. Just one thing that's mentioned in this poem, yours forever. Uh, Lincoln signed these letters, yours forever. He never signed any letter that we know of addressed to Mary Todd, his wife, with yours forever. A little strange, right? And then he brought Joshua into the White House when Mary Todd wasn't there. In addition to that, there are other pieces of evidence out there that Abe Lincoln had other relationships with other people, including one of his personal bodyguards who kept wearing his pajamas. Why? This is the White House. They could afford giving this guy pajamas. They shared a bed. The guy wore Abe Lincoln's pajamas. I don't know. I am not a historian. I'm not going to say Abe Lincoln was this or that, but the evidence is there that something was going on. So why not bring it up? Why not, if there was something, why not? Why not say so? Let's not, let's not ignore this. Let's bring it up and talk about it. And if there was something, so what?